Attraction wasn't always confusing. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't silent. How attraction worked before dating apps changed everything is a question most men feel deep down, even if they've never said it out loud. Something shifted. The rules blurred. Effort stopped paying off the same way. Connection started feeling thinner. And no, you're not imagining it. How attraction worked before dating apps changed everything isn't nostalgia, it's clarity. If you've ever felt like dating got harder for no clear reason, this channel is for you. Subscribe so you don't have to figure this out alone. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers and stay here if you want to understand attraction the way most men never get the chance to. Topic 1. When attraction was built, not scrolled before dating apps, attraction didn't start with a swipe. It started with presence. It grew slowly, almost without warning, through repeated contact. A good morning that turned into conversation, an inside joke that only made sense to those two people. There was no endless catalog of options, so attention stayed on what was actually in front of you. And strangely enough, that made everything feel more intense. Men learned early that attraction was built, not chosen in seconds. It happened at work, in college, in the neighborhood, through mutual friends. He observed, adjusted, read the room. If he messed up, he felt it immediately. If he got it right, he felt that too. There was no emotional numbing from the next match, waiting one swipe away. Every interaction mattered. That created a different kind of attention, almost handcrafted. Time was part of the process, and silence between encounters wasn't anxiety, it was anticipation. It sounds strange now, but that slower rhythm taught something valuable. Attraction grows when there's space for curiosity to breathe. And that idea of space, of construction, starts to explain why the next element changed everything when it slowly disappeared. Topic 2. Scarcity made effort meaningful. When options were limited, effort actually meant something. Not because someone said it did, but because it was felt. If a man was interested in a woman, he knew that opportunity wasn't easily replaceable. That alone changed his behavior. He thought before acting, chose his words carefully, showed up more intentionally, not out of fear, but because it mattered. Scarcity created intention. Invitation wasn't thrown out casually, it was thought through. A date wasn't just another item on the calendar, it was an event, and that care was felt on the other side. When something requires effort, the brain automatically assigns it more value. It's the same reason people protect what they build with their own hands more than what comes to easily. Today, with endless options, effort has become the exception. Back then, it was the norm. That didn't make relationships perfect, far from it, but it made people more emotionally responsible for what they were building. And right there, an invisible piece of old-school attraction starts to show up, something that had nothing to do with looks, everything to do with real social context, which leads straight into the next point. Topic 3. Social proof came from real life, not profiles. Before apps, social proof didn't come from polished photos or clever bios. It came from real life. People watched how someone behaved in groups, how he treated others, how he handled pressure. Attraction often started long before a direct conversation because reputation spoke first. That created a quiet but powerful filter. A man didn't need to sell himself. He was observed. If he had presence, respect, humor, and emotional steadiness, it showed naturally in everyday interactions. Mutual friends acted like a social mirror. Small details, listening more than talking, keeping his word, not chasing approval, slowly built a solid image. Nothing was instant, but everything was consistent. And that kind of validation couldn't be faked. It required consistency over time. That's why when attraction happened, it came with built-in trust. Today, so much happens without context, without history, without witnesses. And when that background disappears, something essential goes missing. Something less about status and more about real masculine presence. And that's where the next point starts to tighten the pressure. Topic 4. Masculine presence mattered more than looks. Back then, masculine presence spoke louder than appearance. It wasn't about being the best-looking guy in the room, but about how a man occupied his space. Posture, tone of voice, pacing, how he handled discomfort, all of that was read instantly. And the interesting part? No one needed it explained.
Ow.
People just felt it. A confident man didn't rush conversations. He didn't over-explain himself. He didn't try to impress at every turn. He listened, responded calmly, stayed grounded even when things didn't go his way. Small behaviors said everything. Showing up on time, holding silence without getting nervous, disagreeing without aggression. Attraction formed quietly, without visible effort. Today, many believe they need perfect looks or rehearsed lines. Back then, coherence between intention and behavior was enough. And when that coherence existed, interest grew naturally, without games. But there's a detail here that matters. When rejection showed up, it didn't hide, and that direct impact shaped something crucial in the male psyche, something the next topic makes impossible to ignore. Topic 5: Rejection was clear, and that was a gift. Rejection used to be clear. Sometimes polite, sometimes uncomfortable, but honest. There weren't weeks of lukewarm texts, mixed signals, or strategic silence. When interest wasn't there, it became obvious early on, and as much as it bruised the ego, there was something healthy about it. The man wasn't trapped in endless interpretation. He felt it, processed it, and moved on. That clear no acted like a strict but fair teacher. It forced fast adjustment. The man understood what didn't work and recalibrated his posture, his communication, his intent. Instead of replaying imaginary scenarios, he learned from real experience. It was uncomfortable, yes, but it strengthened the mind. It built emotional resilience and internal clarity. Today, rejection often hides behind ambiguity, and that confuses more than it hurts. Back then, clarity saved time and emotional energy. And that clarity had a powerful side effect. It pushed men to look for something deeper than approval. That's exactly where the dynamic begins to shift, because attraction didn't grow from constant validation. And that's where the next point flips the switch. Topic 6: Attraction grew through tension, not validation. Attraction used to grow in the space between interactions. It wasn't fueled by constant texting, likes, or daily reassurance. Quite the opposite. Desire came from healthy tension, light uncertainty, and the time each person spent living their own life. That created anticipation, and anticipation is one of the strongest fuels of attraction. A man didn't need to be constantly available to prove interest. He showed it through clear, well-timed actions. A direct invitation, a present conversation, simple gesture at the right moment. Outside of that silence, it's not as a tactic, but because his life had substance. And that balance communicated value without explanation. Today, many confuse validation with connection. Back then, connection came from not overdoing it. When everything is immediate, nothing stays desirable for long. That subtle shift in rhythm deeply changed how interest forms. Because when tension disappears, something essential goes with it. Something you can't fix with more attention, only with emotional security. Which brings us directly to the next topic. Topic 7: Women chose men they felt safe with emotionally. Emotional safety wasn't something that needed to be said. It was felt. Women paid attention to how a man handled pressure, frustration, and silence. Whether he stayed grounded, whether his mood didn't swing wildly, whether he didn't unravel at the first sign of rejection. That healthy predictability created comfort, and comfort, when understood properly, has always been a quiet foundation of attraction. This had nothing to do with being nice or overly available. Quite the opposite. An emotionally secure man didn't need to please constantly. He set boundaries. He had opinions. He knew how to say no without hostility. And that communicated emotional leadership. Small actions revealed everything. Not pushing when things didn't flow, staying calm during conflict, not competing for attention. Today, many try to create attraction through insecurity or artificial urgency. Back then, choice came from a sense of internal stability. When a woman felt that a man didn't need her to feel whole, something clicked. But that kind of security wasn't automatic. It was built through real mistakes and real experience, which is exactly what the next point begins to uncover. Topic 8: Men learned attraction through experience, not advice. Learning came from experience, not tutorials. Men messed up, felt the consequences, adjusted, and tried again. There were no mental shortcuts or magic formulas. Every interaction was a hands-on lesson in timing, body language, intent, and consequence. And that process, slow as it was, created real emotional maturity. Advice existed, sure, but it came from direct observation. An older friend, a brother, someone who had been there before. The feedback was simple, often uncomfortable, but honest. You talked too much. You rushed it. You weren't ready. That kind of feedback shaped behavior because it came from reality, not theory. Today, many collect information but lack experience. Back then, it was the opposite. And that made all the difference. Because attraction isn't learned through logic alone, it's learned through exposure to real discomfort. And when that discomfort is avoided, something gets lost in the process. Something bigger than individuals. Something tied to the entire environment. Which is where the next topic connects the dots. Topic 9. Dating apps didn't change women, they changed the environment. The common mistake is thinking people suddenly changed. In reality, the environment did. When context shifts, behavior follows. Before, choices were made within clear limits and real social consequences. Today, endless options create a constant sense of replaceability, and that reshapes expectations, patience, and emotional investment on both sides. It's not that women suddenly want too much. The system simply offers too much. When everything feels accessible, nothing feels final. That affects perception of value, not character. The same thing happens in any area of life. When abundance lacks structure, attention fragments. And relationships without sustained attention don't deepen. Understanding this completely changes the story. Instead of resentment, clarity appears. Instead of blaming people, you observe the game. And when a man understands the environment he's in, he stops playing on autopilot. Because even though everything around him has changed, something can still be recovered. Something internal, rebuilt consciously. And that's exactly what the final topic brings to the surface. Topic 10. What was lost? And what can still be rebuilt? A lot was lost along the way. Human rhythm, depth of connection, the value of shared time. But none of it disappeared completely. It just got buried under fast stimulation, easy choices, and instant rewards. Modern men feel this emptiness, even if they can't name it. That quiet sense that something is off, even when everything seems fine. The good news is that what was lost doesn't depend on technology to exist. Presence, intention, boundaries, emotional clarity, all of that can still be rebuilt individually. A man who slows down, chooses where he invests his energy, and refuses to trade his peace starts operating above the noise. He doesn't compete with the system, he positions himself beyond it. And when that happens, something interesting occurs. Attraction stops being a chase and becomes a byproduct. Not of the world as it used to be, but of the man who chooses to act consciously in the world as it is today. That internal shift isn't obvious or immediate, and maybe that's exactly why it's the most important starting point of all. Conclusion. If all of this made sense, the question now is simple. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you keep reacting to the environment or start acting consciously within it? Because understanding attraction changes how you carry yourself, how you choose, how you communicate, and how you respect your own time. Look at the decisions you've been repeating. Look at the pattern. And most importantly, look at the kind of man you're becoming through the quiet choices you make every day. If this made you think, drop a comment and share what hit you the hardest. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because this isn't about entertainment. It's about helping you see the game clearly and build something better from here.